Okay, let's jump right in. We've all seen AI do some fun stuff, right? Turning photos into cartoons, writing little bits of text. It's kind of everywhere.
Absolutely. It's gone from novelty to something integrated into many tools.
But the really big question, the one a lot of people are asking, is can this tech actually help with something, serious and complex, like trading, stocks, crypto? Can it actually help you make money?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? Moving AI from, say, creative assistance to potentially generating real financial insights. It's definitely a compelling idea.
It really is, and that's exactly what we're digging into today in this deep dive. We're looking at these sources you brought, which explore precisely that possibility.
Right. They outline a very specific, hands-on way someone might use AI tools specifically. They looked at Deepseek AI and ChatGPT for looking at trading charts and trying to get potential signals.
So our mission here is to basically walk through the process they describe step by step. What happens when you just feed a chart image to these AIs? What kind of analysis pops out?
And crucially, what do these sources suggest is the real way to think about these tools? What's their actual value, according to the material we reviewed?
Exactly. So for you listening, we're going to unpack the method they used, look at the differences and similarities between the results from DeepSeek and ChatGPT on the same chart.
And discuss how, based on this specific information, someone might potentially use these AIs effectively, not as a magic box, but as a tool.
Okay, let's set the stage. What's the basic premise here from the sources?
Well, the fundamental idea put forward is, yes, AI can potentially be a helpful assistant for trading analysis. And they're clear. It's not just for crypto, Bitcoin, Ethereum, but it applies just as much to analyzing regular stocks.
Got it. And how do you start? What's the first step they showed?
It's quite specific. You start with a plain chart, so no indicators plotted on it already, no moving averages, no RSI, none of that stuff, just the raw price
The
actions.
candlesticks or the line?
Exactly. The example they used in the source material was an hourly chart for Bitcoin. They did mention this was for educational or maybe compliance reasons, but they stressed the method itself works for stocks too.
Okay, a clean, plain chart. What next?
This is the core of the experiment they described.
Yeah.
You take that exact same plain chart image,
The very same file.
the identical image, and you upload it to both DeepSeek AI and also to ChatGPT. They mentioned using the latest available ChatGPT version at the time.
Right. And you tell them to do the same thing.
Precisely. The prompt used for both was identical. Analyze my chart, give me an entry point with a stop loss with proper logic. Simple and direct.
Okay.
And for DeepSeek, they specifically noted using its Deep Think feature, which basically just tells the AI to work through its reasoning more thoroughly before spitting out the answer.
All right, so identical chart, identical request, two different AIs. What did ChatGPT come back with first?
The sources detailed its response right. They did. So ChatGPT looked at the chart and gave its reasoning. It noted the market had been in a downtrend, prices generally heading lower.
Okay.
But it said it was spotting what it called a reversal formation, starting around, I think it was April 1st on that particular chart image.
Ah, so seeing signs of a potential turnaround.
Exactly. And based on that potential shift, it suggested a bullish trade, basically, a bet that the price was about to go up.
And did it give concrete numbers, like entry, stop loss?
Oh, yeah, very specific. The signal was, consider a buy trade if Bitcoin goes above 85,200.
Okay,
The stop loss, your safety exit, if it goes wrong, was set at 84,000.
got it. And targets, where to potentially take profit.
He gave two. First target,
Yeah.
86,500, which
Oh.
it identified as the next likely resistance level, a place where selling might kick in.
Right.
Second target, further up at 88,000.
And the sources mentioned if you actually plot those levels on the chart.
They line up pretty logically, yeah. They seem to correspond to visible areas of potential support and resistance on that specific chart example.
Interesting. And ChatGPT wasn't just a one-trick pony, right? It could offer alternatives.
Right. The sources mentioned that if, say, that buy level at 85,200 wasn't triggered, you could prompt ChatGPT again and ask for short setup a plan to profit if the price goes down.
Like what? Did they give an example?
Yeah, it mentioned something like, if the bullish setup fails, consider shorting below 84,800 with its own specific stop loss and targets, like maybe 83,200 or 81,500, also pulls from the chart structure.
Okay, so it provides a primary idea but can adapt. Now, there was a brief mention in the sources about where someone might do these kinds of trades.
Just as context, they brought up one specific platform, Delta Exchange, as an example place where you could trade things like crypto futures.
Right. And they list some features relevant to this kind of analysis.
Yeah, just factual points from the source.
Mm.
That it allows trading futures, offers isolated margin, which helps manage risk on individual trades. I mentioned various leverage options, noting up to 200x was technically available, but the source suggested that for these kinds of AI-assisted signals, maybe 4x or 5x leverage was often more than enough.
And they mentioned fees, too.
Briefly, yeah.
Mm.
Something about a potential 10% discount and zero brokerage on certain short-term sell-side trades, but
Yeah.
again,
Important caveat here. This is purely reporting the details mentioned in the source material about one platform example. It's absolutely not an endorsement or recommendation from us, just context provided in the sources we reviewed.
exactly, just factual reporting of the source content.
Okay, so that was ChatGPT's analysis. Now let's switch gears to Deepseek AI. Same chart, same prompt, but activating DeepThink. What did it do?
This is where the sources pointed out a really key difference, especially in the initial output.
How so?
Well, remember, ChatGPT primarily focused on the bullish reversal first. Deepseek AI, using that more detailed analysis mode, actually came back with both a potential bullish setup and a potential bearish setup right off the bat.
Ah, interesting. So it presented both possibilities immediately. What was its bullish case?
DeepSeek suggested a buy if the price got above 84,000, so a slightly different level than ChatGPT's 85,200.
Okay. And its targets.
Its targets were 85,600 and 86,400, also slightly different.
And the logic. Why buy there?
The reasoning described was that, yes, the market had shown weakness, it had broken down earlier, but it seemed to be bouncing back.
Yeah.
So if it cleared that 84,000 hurdle, it might be worth a long position.
What about the stop loss for that one?
The sources mentioned DeepSeek suggested a stop loss around 84,000, which, yeah, sounds quite close to the entry. That was noted as being perhaps a bit tight.
Okay. And the bearish side. What was DeepSeek's short setup?
It suggested going short if the price dropped below 83,800.
And the target for that short?
The target mentioned was 82,000. The source noted this was a round number and also corresponded to a previous important support level on the chart.
And DeepSeek's DeepThink gave more detailed reasoning overall.
It seems so. The sources indicated DeepSeek laid out more of its thought process, mentioning the current price, the timestamp of the chart, volume considerations.
Yeah.
It also explicitly stated its assumptions, like seeing the price kind of oscillating within a range and concluding that the prior downtrend might be losing steam because the market had already dipped significantly below 80K earlier.
So it saw the potential shift towards bullishness, like ChatGPT.
Nope.
But still felt it was important to provide that bearish contingency plan right up front.
Exactly. It acknowledged the potential bounce, but kept the possibility of further downside in play with a concrete plan.
Okay, so this is where the comparison gets fascinating. Two AIs, same chart, same request, slightly different outputs. ChatGPT leaning bullish initially, DeepSeek giving both sides.
Right. And the sources really dug into this comparison. The key point they made was, yes, the specific price levels, the exact entry point, the stop-loss number, the target figures, they were slightly different between the two.
Which you could argue happens with human analysts too, right? Two traders might look at the same chart and draw their support resistance lines slightly differently.
Precisely. That's the parallel they drew. But, and this is crucial, they said, the underlying logic, the fundamental reasoning behind why a trade might work at those general levels, like identifying a potential reversal or a breakdown point, that logic was described as being remarkably similar between both AIs.
So the exact numbers varied a bit, but the why the market interpretation was pretty consistent.
That was the takeaway presented.
Yeah.
And the sources actually framed these slight variations in levels as being absolutely okay.
Like it's not a bug, it's a feature, or just the nature of analysis.
Kind of, yeah. It suggests that market analysis, whether by human or AI, isn't always about finding one single correct number, but about identifying zones and understanding the context.
Which leads us, I think, to the most important point the sources hammered home. What is the real purpose of using these tools, according to them? It's not for just blindly taking trades, right?
Absolutely not. They were very clear on that. The sources strongly cautioned against just taking these outputs and trading them without any other thought or analysis.
So what is the value then?
The sources positioned it primarily as a learning and confirmation tool.
Learning how?
Learning about market analysis. You get to see how an AI interprets price action, how it identifies potential patterns or levels. It's like looking over the shoulder of a tireless analytical engine.
Okay, that makes sense. And improving your own trading.
Yeah, by comparing the AI's logic to your own analysis. If you're developing your own trading framework, you can see if the AI spots similar things or maybe things you missed, or vice versa. It helps you refine your own approach.
And the confirmation part.
That seems key. Say you've done your own homework, you've looked at a chart, identified what you think is a key support level. You can then feed that chart to the AI and ask for its analysis, if it independently highlights a similar level.
That gives you more confidence in your own analysis.
Exactly. It acts as a form of validation, or at least a second opinion, based purely on the data presented in the chart.
And the sources mentioned ChatGPT could do more too. Like if you did give it a chart with indicators.
They noted you could upload a chart that already has, say, RSI or moving averages plotted on it, and then specifically ask ChatGPT to analyze the chart based on those indicators.
So it could explain what a certain RSI level might mean, or how to interpret a moving average crossover in that context.
Apparently so, providing insights into how those standard technical tools are typically interpreted. Another learning opportunity.
And we should probably reiterate this whole process they outlined. It wasn't just for crypto, right?
No, the sources were explicit. The method applies just the same way to analyzing stock charts or charts of market indexes like the S&P 500 or whatever.
Any chart, basically.
Any plain price chart, yeah. They even threw in a suggestion, kind of an aside, to try analyzing the chart of a specific type of company, one where the government had recently become a major stakeholder. They didn't name it, but said the AI analysis on that kind of situation was very interesting.
Intriguing. Okay, so let's recap the main thread here from our dive into these sources. We've seen how AI tools like Deepseek and ChatGPT can be used quite practically as analysis tools for trading charts.
Right. They can generate potential trade ideas with logic, entry points, stops, targets.
But maybe more importantly, according to this material, their real strength lies in helping you learn, helping you improve your own market understanding, and providing a way to confirm or challenge your own analysis.
That seems to be the core message. Use them as sophisticated tools, not as oracles.
And of course, we have to repeat the strong caveat from the sources themselves. Any real trading involves risk. Any decisions should come from your own thorough analysis, your own risk assessment.
And ideally, after talking with a qualified financial advisor. This discussion today, based entirely on the source material provided, was purely for educational and informational purposes, showing one way AI might be applied in market study.
Absolutely. So here's a final thought to leave you with, something to chew on. We saw two different AIs look at the exact same chart data and come up with slightly different specific levels for trades.
But with very similar underlying reasoning about why those areas were significant.
What does that tell us? Does it suggest that even with powerful AI, market analysis always has this element of maybe interpretation? Or does it mean AI can actually offer multiple valid perspectives on the same data, just like skilled human analysts might?
Is it highlighting subjectivity even in data, or showcasing the potential for diverse yet logical AI viewpoints?
Something to definitely think about as you continue exploring markets and technology on your own.